Although I'm looking at a Skype logo, not you. Okay, there we go. Good times. You know, I it's there's tons of stories I can tell about different adventures that I've been on. One of my favorite stories, and this is also I think at a time when a lot of performers from the underground weren't really broadcasting themselves. I talk a lot recently about how people have their own broadcast signals, their own frequencies. And what are you broadcasting? And hey, attitudes are contagious. You know, is yours worth catching? That was something that I read on the wall. I think it was spray painted at an E Network party. Um, this is true. I believe in it,
Of
and
course.
and I've known you for so long,
Long
and
time.
and it's awesome that promoters all across North America have been like, oh yeah, there's that guy, and we're gonna get that guy. They're both from Toronto. I wonder if they know each other. And then they don't know the story, but I have performed at so many different clubs, parties, raves, and festivals with you. I have toured with you
Yes.
around Canada. I think I've never played in Montreal with you.
Yeah, that's one of the only cities we never played at together. But I
Yeah,
mean, people don't realize how much we played in America together.
yeah.
I remember being in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm like, Josh, with Freaky Flow, and the thing is, um, I think what people liked about us is the one thing that I used to sometimes vent about on Facebook when I would talk about mainstream versus the underground. I've reached a point in my life of serenity where I don't really give an fuck about that stuff. I care about the integrity of the music. So if I'm going to make something that's more urban, where I could see somebody from OVO, perhaps, because I write a lot of songs now, and they could like, I love Drake. I understand why he is where he is. I also can turn around and understand why I love Marco Carolla, or why I respect Dave the drummer, or why I also can relate to Marky. And I think the reason why a lot of promoters had a trust with Freaky Flow, MC Flipside, Jello was the bravado, the showmanship, the confidence to deliver a uniqueness. And we could go super deep, we could go super dark, we could go super happy, we could go, very ravey, or you and I have played super deep house together. I think it was that ability to read the crowd because, we were kids, but we were taught by wonderful mentors. And I think that that wisdom that came to us early allowed American promoters, especially on the West Coast, um, to trust us with such a big task. And I remember we were playing in Arizona, and we had the pleasure to play with the infamous turntablist who's now Z Trip. You remember? And that party, it was a Halloween rave in Phoenix, like near the Valley. And I remember you and I were like hanging out with Z Trip, watching him just dismantle LL Cool J, rock the bells, just going back and forth. And you and I were in the back. It's crazy how I remember all this stuff. And we were just awestruck by this different flex. And I think you and I have always had that ability to really. The American crowd is different from the Canadian crowd. The crowd in Vancouver is different from Toronto itself, and I think you and I always had that ability. Like, you would look at me and say, "Hey, I'm going to play some of this, maybe kick a little rhyme, but don't overdo it on this part because there's a big snare roll. However, if it drops and you nail it, we'll go up a level." Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to. I was doing my intro. I was getting. I was
I
getting.
got too excited.
Yes, which is great. I this is Utility Room. That is Flipside. Really stoked to have you.
Thank you.
This the story that I was gonna tell is one of the very first times that we were in a different city together, where we had like get on an airplane. I don't mean like a London, Ontario, or a Guelph, and I'm not knocking it, Listen,
No, of course not.
Guelph is an out of town gig. It is. It's not Toronto. It's a different city. It's university. It's small town. I don't know if Guelph is still happening, but Guelph had a moment in the late '90s, early 2000s. There was a moment that was happening in Guelph, um,
Totally.
but we were in Vancouver, and I can't remember how, why, or what. I was traveling. I was seeing somebody actually at the time who was living in Calgary. You were touring with Steve, and we were playing at a party called Seven Deadly Sins. And we were staying. We stayed at. We stayed at. I can't remember what hotel we stayed at, but we had to. We all of us had to leave at the same time and go somewhere. It wasn't, and we weren't catching a flight. It wasn't that, and I don't think we had done this show yet. And we get into the cab, and I'm sitting in the front seat, and you, Steve, and this person that I was seeing were sitting in the back seat, and you were talking, and I guess just because you're very energetic, that obviously if it's going to attract attention, and clearly, and it wasn't like we walked into the cab and or walked in, just sat down and were like super explosive, so that the cab driver's attention was upon us. So when you started opening up, I could see he kept looking in the rearview mirror, like, he's driving, who is this guy? It's in the back seat. And then you tried to strike up a conversation with him, but he was uninterested in having a conversation with you. So you
Yeah.
looked over at, I'm not sure if this is still a thing, that cab drivers have their cards
Yeah.
displayed with their ID, and you
Yeah.
looked at this person's name, and it was a challenging name to pronounce.
Hmm.
You nailed it, and you started rhyming right there and then in the backseat, and you made this whole episode. You told this story about this stranger you didn't know using his name. This guy's looking over his shoulder. He's trying to straighten his wheel. He's like, what the fuck is going on? This is one of my fondest memories that I have of you. And it just goes to show how absolutely awesome and super talented you are, that in a moment you can pick something up and just go ahead and assemble it and turn, it was nothing, and all of a sudden now it's something, and it's on the fly. You had all of us in the car, were except for the cab driver, were laughing, and
Yeah.
I was trying to look at him like it's cool, man, it's cool. But yeah, this guy I guess he just wasn't used to this type of thing. So
That and he's probably just someone. I mean, I hope he changed, but sometimes people are, they're just whatever. Like, um, I guess he was maybe in a foul mood or something.
well, Nat,
But
you know how it is. Not everybody understands house
no,
music.
totally. But also I would have, man, I would have approached it totally different. I would like the way I am now. I probably wouldn't have done that. But at that time, the excitement of being paid to go to all these cities, especially because I was for Clay. I remember I had to DJ before you, and then Steve and I went on after you. And I remember you smashed it. I remember you playing some Speed Garage, and that was a really cool venue too. Clay's parties, futuristic flavor, they were wonderful parties. And I do remember the hotel. It was off of Granville. It was one of the smaller boutique hotels that's now not as prevalent, because Vancouver went through that whole boom in the late '90s. But I do remember being a little bit of a shit disturber in that regard. And I remember once freestyling to a customs officer around that in that same era, but that didn't turn out so good. Luckily, I made them laugh, but they were like, we could really like detain you for you're not supposed to really do that to us. That was I learned my lesson, but I had an O1 visa, so they couldn't do shit.
You felt like you were bulletproof with that visa.
Unbelievable. You've had them. Well, I mean, you're American, so
Yeah, I don't
um,
I don't have it.
yeah. But the O1's really hard to get. You have to go through so much paperwork with X amount
I
of
heard it's
press. And
changed. I heard the process is entirely different now.
to be honest with you, if you want the O1, it's still pretty strict, though.
I think it, but like if you want to go and just like pop across well, not now, obviously, since
That's a P2. That's a
2019. I mean,
yeah.
right now it's still 2019. Isn't it still 2019? Or are we not still there right now?
I feel like we're living in the twilight zone now.
Yeah, it's definitely an alternative thing. But I listen, bring us back to a diff time. Bring
Okay.
us bring us back actually to the vampire bite. What was it first? Was it hip hop? Was it hip house? Was it house music? What happened? What was the first thing that came to you that you felt that was that bite, also magnet and
That's a very good question, because it's funny because I sometimes keep the MC in my name, sometimes I remove it. It depends what project I'm doing. But for me, the the track where I was like, okay, this is pretty cool, was Planet Rock, Africa Bombata. So when I heard it, because I'm such a Prince and like I'm obsessed with Prince. Like I think Prince is like, you can talk about Zeppelin, you can talk about Pink Floyd, but to me Prince is on another level than anyone, because he does it all alone, everything. And he's just, the way he plays, the way he touches the guitar, the way he sings, he's like, I bow to him. I don't get starstruck by a lot of people, but the way he did Purple Rain, When Doves Cry, that beat with the Linn drum, I was just like, wow. And then I heard Africa Bombata just before that, because like I'm thinking Purple Rain's '84, but I remember watching Much Music videos when they would do the Chum FM countdown, and I remember hearing Africa Bombata and then seeing a track that he did with James Brown, peace, unity, and love, and having fun. And I was just like, what is this? This is so crazy. Is it electronic? Is it pop? Is it rap? And then that was the early seeds. Okay. And then I heard, like Tour de France. But then the flip side came when I really started to click like that, was when I heard Kid and Play. And I saw the danceable factor of rapping, and then I saw Big Daddy Kane during that same period coming with the arrogant rhymes, the confident rhymes. Rappers stepping to me. They want to get some, but I'm the Kane, so yo, you know the outcome. Another victory. You can't step to me. So what you saying, huh? You are history. So I would hear these rhymes, and my brain just went, and then I tied it into like Kid and Play. And then the other factor to bring it full circle was Fast Eddie and Tyree Cooper. So when I heard them rapping on house, I was like, wait a minute. So you could do what Big Daddy Kane does, but over a 909 and a 303. I was hooked. That's really how it went. That's really how it happened. So Acid Thunder was the wonder, but this one is gonna put you underground. Like, so I just lost my marbles. FASTEEDDIE, because I'm about to get rough and raw. I still remember the words, man.
when you think of that and it was happening, even now, right now, with this reflection, would you say that whatever that initial spark that was is still there now? We're gonna I want to fast through. I'm obviously we're gonna flip back because obviously I know I want to hear your story. I want to hear the journey, but this energy, hearing you right now, what's changed?
Uh, to be honest, it's actually come full circle. The one good thing about COVID is it's allowed me to just go back into the lab and just, it's only for the creative love. And in the past year and a bit, just writing lots of hip hop, writing lots of techno. What I did when I was in high school, I could turn around and listen to Jeff Mills, and then turn around and listen to Pete Rock and CL Smooth. And my apologies. Um,
What
I
happened?
could I'm here.
Okay,
I apologize about that. And it's because I'm using my phone for Skype, so
that's I got it. You got the notification. You
I'm
can't you can't turn off
I'm
the.
very sorry.
And we're
So
here.
basic
I
so
love you still.
basically, I've thank you. I've I've fallen in love with the whole art of rhyming all over again, because it was always there, but I was fixated on production and stripping it down the past few years, and like minimalizing it. And then I realized, like, it's not about holding back. That energy, that passion should always be like released, and now I know how to channel it for, if I'm making a track with Daniel Dubb, I can approach it a certain way. When we did stuff, you and I, with Moy, I can approach it a certain way, and it's still me, and I'm being true to myself. Or I could turn around, and if I want to do a track like Migos, you know, I want to. And if I feel like turning on, a drum kit and making that beautiful 808 decay boom in with a nice little and like pitch up the snare and decide to do a little flow, and swing it on a triplet flow, then I'll do it.
Let's swing back now to the artist journey because there was a couple of things that you just said right now that I
Okay.
think are great. The first thing, obviously, is you brought up to the flip side, or you mentioned you're talking about how something was on the flip side of things, and
Okay.
then I was going to ask, obviously, how did you dream up the name? Was there an associative that you had? What was Flipside? And the other thing that you brought up is was that on your journey, a confidence ended up building. And so I was going to ask you, uh, when did you truly feel that you could let go? I mean, the letting go didn't happen obviously with COVID. This is something that happened a long time ago. It happened. It happened when we were in the taxi with the driver. Um, this confidence. How did you develop it? What was the thing that you were influenced by, that you saw or that you heard, that you knew that you were able to go into that direction, that you were able to step there?
I um that is a really, really good question. I apologize. Ms. Meggs was trying to call me, so it cut off. So I apologize.
No worries.
Um,
I'm right here.
bit,
I mean, we didn't really lose you. Just your handsome face.
so let me go back to that question because you are right. It did start easing up some time ago because you just become comfortable in your own skin. But each time that I had a success, uh, and reading reviews for some of my records on Stickman or mixes that I did in Tribe, or seeing my reviews in like Herb or DJ Mag UK, seeing what is positive, seeing what is negative, I started to realize that it's like two sides to a coin. So your ego lets that go because love and hate is part of yin and yang. So it's just perspective, depends on people's emotion, mood. So you let that go. Then you focus on the creativity and what it is that you uh like, that spark, that innocent passion, like when you fell in love with your first experience with electronic music or urban music, whichever the case, whichever the genre you pick. That feeling of, wow, genuine happiness inside you. So every time I'm creative, as I, matured and evolved, I started letting go of worrying about what people think and worrying about, am I being the best version of Flipside that I can be with myself, with the artists I'm collaborating with the times I get on the mic. Like a lot of MCs, they don't know how to DJ, they don't really know how to write songs truly. Like, let's say tomorrow Cardinal Official calls me to the studio. No problem, man. I'm there. You could play me 100 instrumentals. I'll figure it out in my brain. Maybe not all at once, but it's going to happen with that time. I have that respect. I think that people like you, the reason why you trust me, because there's people that despise hearing people talking on the mic. Let's be honest. And the reason why that happens is, um, there's a lack of care and respect for the music that is being played. And that's not because the MC up there isn't, respectful towards the crowd. They're just excited and they have to learn to understand there's timing and understand, 8, 12, 16, 32, 64. You have to learn to read the music so you become a complement. So getting back to letting go, it's learning that someone like you to trust me from the MC perspective, that's a very sacred connection. So it's about the crowd lifting, the song lifting, the composition lifting. And then if I'm playing, I don't even go crazy on the mic unless I'm doing my songs, because to me, I look at Green Velvet and he waits when to perform. So I watched masters like that and I realized, okay, I have to learn to let go at times to allow the impact to hit. Like in the cab ride, although you remember it fondly, the cab driver probably still thinks I was insane. But
Well, who knows? Maybe now down the road, he's massive Flipside fan. It's anybody's guess. I mean,
yeah, totally. But do you see what I'm? How letting go happens is just easing it out, just chilling, and less is more, and knowing when to come in like a hook that you don't see. Like the best boxers, they feint and you don't predict them. And Lennox Lewis was the best at that. He looked like he was like out of it, and then bam, he just came in and took care of business. So I try to look at creating music in that sense. Unpredictability, uniqueness, less is more, and that's part of maturing. You learn to not sweat the small things, and I guess it all ties in.
What about the name?
Very good question. The name, actually, I'm a firm believer of respecting where hip hop comes from, and cultural appropriation is a no no. Like, I never wanted to go on the stage and suddenly have a fake British accent, or if I use patois, I use it in a way to show that I'm proud of my roots from Toronto. I'm so Italian the way I talk with my hands. But I was all about honoring the culture, Eric B. and Rakim, Nas, Mob Deep, and I didn't want to be that cat that was just there, trying to kick a flow. So Flipside doesn't even have to do with records. It's because I was white and I was the first white rapper in my high school. So I was like, well, I'm the flip side. That's actually where it comes from.
Wow,
Hmm.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
Did
man,
you?
because I was a white dude stepping into a black man's creation, their culture, African American culture, and I wanted to let them know, I honor where this arena when I would go to battles. I was in a lot of hip hop battles when I was younger, and one lost, you learn. You learn to have a thick skin. Like the 8 Mile movie. That's really what is. I remember being in a battle at Club Paradise, and I was only one of three white people. And you just learn to show respect, and that's where Flipside comes from. Actually, it has nothing to do with records.
What a story. Did you? Did you have this struggle with? I know you to be a glass half full person. You're optimistic.
Yeah.
You have great respect towards the history and culture of all music. I don't think that this is not exclusive. You're not the outlier for a specific genre. I have no idea what's going on with your camera perspective. We're just flying all over the place. Maybe
Really?
it's, yeah, I don't know. Maybe your notifications are resetting or something. I mean, I still got you. You still no.
This is so strange because it's like perfectly like it's perfect here.
You are perfect. Of course, you're perfect. I'm I'm just I can't remember what I was going to say because the window perspective actually just kicked me right the fuck out. Yeah, here I
We were
am.
talking about how I like different genres and different cultures, with the music, and that not one genre specifically, if that helps trigger something.
Do you think that the thick skin thing has is it still there right now for music? I mean, if you wanted to get involved in music right now, for example, do you think that a lot of the trials that you were experiencing back then and the struggles that you had you come to the flip side name, these ideas that you just talked about,
Hmm.
is this still relevant right now, or was this something that was happening at a certain time and place?
Well, no, it is extremely relevant right now. And I think that it needs to be addressed. The inclusivity, especially with the fact that house music was invented by African Americans. And when you see people like DJ Eclipse and Demir talking about inclusivity needs to be exponentially, increased on the bills, rightfully so. I mean, sure, I've heard people argue and say, well, Green Velvet's always been a dominant force in Carl Cox. Well, if you look at the lineups, these arguments that they have, they are valid. So for me, I've always been, like you mentioned, respectful. It's how I was raised by my parents. I've always known that I am a guest in a culture that was created by African American people. So for me, of course, that's important to me. And that's why when I'm, House Music Will Never Die, a track that we did together, and even on the Rollin' Strong, the second verse that I did on our track, that's a complete freestyle, So um, I've always tried to give and pay homage subtly without being, as we say in Italian, un baciaculo, you know, without being a fraud and a kiss ass, because then that's not genuine and it's disrespectful. That to me is very important. Like, I get heated over stuff like that because I think you have to honor where it comes from. And no one's telling you that you have to repeat it all day long, but you do need to acknowledge and you need to be very true to that while expressing it in your own way. And
Why is this acknowledgement of value? Not
well,
not just to you, but I mean the way that I feel that you're addressing it right now is this is the way it should be.
because I think for a long time it wasn't addressed enough. Wrong on a human level. If you look at one of my sayings when I was on Energy 108, I was a kid. I was a teenager when they hired me, and I would say it's about the music, not the politics. There was that watching Frankie Knuckles, watching Honey Dijon, who I know very well, go through her struggle, as a transgender woman, learning how music took them up to another level. I was like, wow, you can really change human beings for the better through your art. So this is why I talk about it. And when Eclipse and I spoke on the phone, and he's on Dirty Bird, he's on lots of labels. He's from Indiana. He told me a story. He goes, I remember seeing you freestyling in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I looked up on the stage and Freaky Flow is scratching, and I see this guy wearing an Italy jersey, soccer jersey. And you were just rapping about the East Coast and going on and on. And he's like, fast forward to 2017, and now I'm asking you to write me records. And you know why that is? Because he's very like opinionated like that, and it's incredible. His photography is incredible. He was in Time Life magazine, but that's another conversation. And he said to me, the thing that I liked about you is the respect. You could tell you were such a music head and you knew where it came from subtly and still did it with your own vibe. And I was like, wow, that was probably one of the nicest compliments I've ever gotten. It meant the world to me.
Did you know that you were going to have this type of output with so many heroes, peers, and acquaintances? Did you know that you were going to end up collaborating with superheroes in the music scene?
I mean, if
Did
you
you know? I'm just saying, like, because I mean, obviously,
no,
this.
no, not when I was
Here's
a kid. If you would have told me I would end up on Tommy Boy Records, the same label as House of Pain, I would have told you when I was going to St. Elizabeth that you were like smoking too much weed. I would have been like, you're out of it. I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I was flowing, and I mean, maybe I don't think so. I mean, how can you predict that?
because you were already going ahead and you were building up your self confidence. You had this place of where you were. I mean, I don't even know if I have the right word to use, but you were out loud and and and
as
and
they as they say in hip hop, I was extra.
and and unafraid. I'm fearless. This type of attitude and this type of broadcast. Uh, it's not like it's not handed out. It's it's made, or you either got it or you don't. Some people are able to grow into it.
Hmm.
Most are unable to. Um, and so I think to myself, Flipside was in the mirror. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yes, I did
Flip,
use the flow in the mirror.
Flipside's in
I
the
still,
mirror.
I still, I still do actually.
Okay, so what are you looking at when that's happening?
Being, it's man, you like asking the deep questions. I like it though. I'm impressed. You're
We are nearly 14 feet underground, brother.
you've actually like this is a really good interview. I'm not just saying it. Like I'm impressed because you're asking questions that you're not the predictable. Tell us about your new record with Doc Brown. Like it's like okay, I'm happy that you play it,
We
but
like
like
the record, Nat. We played it on
I know.
Utility
Thank
Room.
you for putting
We're
it on your
fond
new
of it.
mix. Thank you.
You're
No, I appreciate it. You
yeah,
um
we put it on the new mix, and it's on Utility Room as well.
man, okay. So what I'm looking at is am I being true to myself? As my aura shining? Am I lacking a confidence in some of the words I'm delivering?
I mean,
Um,
so these are the questions that you're asking yourself while
yes,
you're okay.
yes. I'm really. I hold my friend Cliff, who's an amazing manager in the hip hop world. He said something to me that won't leave me. Air. It's all about air. Accountability, integrity, responsibility. It's very important. Those three things. So when I look in the mirror, it's like, am I being accountable to the culture that has allowed me to build a life, to make a living, to to be able to collaborate with these heroes, to say, like, for example, I haven't even announced it yet, but I might as well do it now. Um, on in June, when the lockdown ends in the UK, I'm actually going to be I've done a record, not as a feature, but primary artist with Maxine and Mark Knight. Our new single, it's called That Soul. It's an absolute bomb. Um, and I'm now also working with, I've got a crazy EP coming out on Authentic. Shout out to Nathan Barato and Carlo Leo. Carlo called me a few months ago and he's like, Nathan and I really respect you. You've always been someone who just puts his head down and does whatever the F he wants. And when I went to go see him before COVID went bananas at Comfort Zone, he was playing a killer set, and I had just hung out with him at BPM, and I'm like, look, Carlo, I'm gonna just go bananas in the studio and freestyle. I'm gonna send it to you. So he's like, I would love that. I sent it to him. He made a beat. It's probably one of Leo's best tracks, man, because it's stripped and it's so fat. And so then he tells me, we want to do an EP that's revolves around you. So I have another record with Chris Larson that's really tough called Freak. And I'm doing all kinds of flows on it. And honestly, I'm just in a place now where I feel so creatively unchained. It's incredible, man.
Why did it have to be COVID? Why did it take that as the push, the fuel for momentum for artistry and projection and output production?
I wouldn't say it was COVID because I was still active releasing records and playing out. I just wasn't as touring as much because, I'd like your audience to know that, and my supporters, like, that I do have anxiety. I work really hard to stay zen now. And I'm proud to say that I don't take medication for it, although my doctor prescribed it. I think people are shy to talk about stuff like that. And I've talked to you on the phone about it. When you went to Burning Man, you remember you came and we were rocking on the CDJs, and I mentioned it to you. And what helped me was vitamin D, meditating, but it's not COVID that forced artistry because I was making tracks like George and I have unreleased records together, a couple Melvin and Klein bombs that we have hidden on the side, bunch of tracks. Like I've got like 9 new Ravito and Nolan tracks with Vench. Then I've got a ton of hip hop. I've got all these projects that are there and ready. But what happened was with the lockdown, I wasn't going to be on Facebook arguing with people about aerosol and how it's transmitted. I was like, you know what? That's all negative. That's kill that noise. It's time to remember you and I hanging out in Vancouver, freestyling, playing beats in the hotel rooms, that innocent passion, the after party, hanging out with guys like Donald and Dan and exchanging records in our crate, that connection, that camaraderie. I was like, you know what? That's still there. Instead of worrying all the time about Instagram and all this, strip it back a few layers and get back to the core of it. So it wasn't, to me, COVID was a blessing in the sense where I had to, because I'm sensitive, of course, to people who have lost family and loved ones. And I have friends that got really sick from it um, in LA and stuff. Thank goodness they're okay, but like they went through hell. But my point is, it just forced me to regroup. And again, going back to what I said earlier, accountability, integrity, responsibility. So holding myself accountable and looking at my life and assessing the timeline and thinking, is there another level inside me that I can uh, aim for? And I believe the answer is yes.
Why do you think that um, Is it possible that music is the only industry that is really about feelings? I mean, not music. That's probably the wrong way to ask it. You know what? I'm not in art galleries. I have no idea what's going on in the painting world. I'm not really into the NFT thing, although I've been spoken to a couple of times about different ideas regarding it. I don't do theater. I can't speak about that. I'm not in film or television.
Although you are one of the people I trust, if you tell me to check a movie, you're pretty bang on with your critiques.
Alrighty, cool,
Mm.
thanks.
Yeah, well, you know that. We always share that, but continue.
You know what it is. I'm not saying it right. I'm trying to get it out. I guess when I think about music, what I really am doing is I'm thinking about feelings, and that's why I think that maybe people have that opinion about what is liked and what is disliked, which translates more often to an opinion of what is good and what is bad. Um, but this is true. If we are on social media, I'm going a bit backwards now. I'm sorry. So
No
hopefully I'm
problem.
not I'm not confusing you or you.
No, we
Um,
have to do it. We have to do it again because there's so much history that we share and so many evolutions. So like to do it in an hour is impossible. And I apologize.
unless you got it. Firstly, we still got lots of time left, and unless you got to run, I mean, I'm not
No, no,
picking
no,
you
no,
out.
no,
It's
no. I'm
it's
just saying,
seemingly
like,
most episodes now are actually flying well past the 60-minute mark, and I'm not trying to stop it. I'm more concerned about people at home that are watching or in their car in a campsite wherever somebody is, and that their butts getting tired and they want to move around, instead of just be stationary, and this is coming from the average person who's sitting down right now is watching 4 hours of Justice League.
I
Have you watched
can't
Justice?
wait. I
Have you
can't
watched?
wait.
You've not watched it
It's
yet?
it's on it's in the queue. I cannot wait. I heard Snyder did it right. I heard he did it the way it was supposed to be. So I'm
So here
excited.
we go. I don't know. I mean, the marketing has obviously fallen hard upon me in my mind. So I'm there. I've read up on it. I've got the YouTube diploma on what the Zack Snyder story is. Um, I feel like this was a very feeling moment. The Justice League thing was a very feeling moment. This happened because uh, I don't know what hashtag has trended for that long. That's a hashtag. Release the Snyder Cut was nearly a half decade long of a hashtag trend. In a world where a hashtag trend is a week, maybe less, the very idea that something was going on for years is crazy to even to say. And it grew. Like who knows how many the original post was on the hashtag, and into obviously the millions, and enough. And it took the pandemic for the studio to be like, we need material. That thing is sitting there. It seems like they do want it, so maybe we
Mm.
should go ahead and do this. And then, of course, a big amount of joy over it on the internet, explosive unison, almost like an echo box, where everyone is championing this idea. This is obviously it's super based in feelings. I think about when I'm talking about music and how people have had this journey. You know, not everyone has been able to use their words to express themselves, but you have.
Mm.
You know, I have felt sometimes. I can speak obviously forthright about this because it's me.
Yeah.
Um, I felt that if someone's like, "Well, what do you think about that?" And I didn't make up this line. I heard it from something, a movie or a TV show or a comic book. But I'm like, everything I've had to say is in the music. That'd be my answer. And someone would look at me and be like, "Pfft." But I'm like, I'm actually fucking serious. Like I said it and be like, your music has no words. Be like, are you sure about that? Because I hear the words. Sometimes I'm making it up as I go along. A snare has become the word go. It's not saying the word go. It's a fucking snare. But to me, it sounds like go.
Yeah, but that's awesome.
Of course, I mean, this is us. This is us in our own minds, in the worlds that we're creating while we're listening to music. But you've used your words to go ahead and express yourself. You've put together the music. You've put together the words.
Mm.
You're like the full package
Yeah.
of expression.
Yeah.
And
Because some
also,
some of the viewers, they might not know that I play keys, and then my sister's a piano teacher, Royal Conservatory. She's like incredible on like a proper, Steinway. Like she's amazing, like incredible. And her and I write songs together. But continue because like I like where you're going with this.
What I guess ultimately it's you also I'm gonna further digress and interject simultaneously at the same time and say you have you mentioned how I've been able to keep up and do different shows with you genre wise. Sure, in the realm of electronic music, you know, we I mean we've never done a wedding or a bar mitzvah together, you know. But but you, Nat, you did pop music. Yeah, you did. You did
I
hip
did
hop.
under
Like,
Mike
yeah,
Perry. Yes.
yeah. You'd be like, yeah, yeah. That's just it. It seems
Dude,
like
I made a track with Royce the 5'9". I don't know if people know that. That's Eminem's partner. I hit him up. He heard my beat and he loved it. And he was like, "Yeah, man, I'll jump on this." I mean, that's an honor. That's one of the greatest MCs on the planet. Like for me to do a record with him, wow. But continue. Gotta let him know, man.
your adaptation to continue to express yourself in a variety of forms of music is literally its own scenario in Toronto. There's not a whole lot of people that have really had the same journey that you've had, where you've been able to express yourself and your feelings. When you look back on everything that's happened, do you feel like you've told the story and have expressed yourself that you wanted to, the way you wanted to do it?
100%. Because if I look at Get Blasted, someone might say, "Oh, the lyrics they're they're sexual and okay, what's your point?" Like all my ladies on the float. If you when I pitched it down, I told George, I'm like, I really love Outkast. I think that we need to do a track together that reflects the beauty of the hip hop sound from Atlanta. So I showed him some tracks by Outkast. I'm like, let's pitch down my voice a bit so it creates a texture over your like booming electro bass line. And so when you hear that, all my ladies on the floor, work it like a pro. So I can do that, or I could turn around and there's people around the world, no joke, that have my lyrics tattooed on their body. Not just several girls, like it's crazy. Like at one show in Vancouver, she put the lyrics from my song "Beside You" with M1 that says, "I am here beside you to guide you along the way you've longed for, affection, protection, a brand new day." When people feel loss and when they lose someone in their life through death, they look for a spiritual or some sort of sacred connection with the universe. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. And when she said that to me, that meant it helped her not want to give up. I mean, nothing, no Grammy, no nothing can top that you helped someone feel a ray of light in their life. And then another one was with George when we did Open Up Your Eyes. Those lyrics are completely me freestyling. He had a situation with a label that I don't want to name where they were trying to get smart, but George, like us, we know the music industry, publishing, neighboring rights. You're not gonna fool us with no little clause there trying to act like a bad man. You're not gonna fool us because we know the rules of the music business. You're not gonna take our master from us. So George was like, they're really annoying me. So let it out. So I'm like, every day is a similar situation. The stress tries to bring me down. It's all about energy. So when you truly let go and get out of the way, like Michael Jackson said, when that piece of shit Martin Bashir interviewed him and tried to like corner him to make him look like a bad person, that loser, he's a scumbag. But anyways, he said, get out of the way. So I try to get out of the way and the messages come. So lyrics to me, even just the tip. It's not about just the tip. I knew people would think that. And it's the shock value, the double entendre that Jay-Z always does so well, the duality. Really, just the tip is about the decay of the kick drum hitting you. The first time. Remember the first time you took a hit? Boom! You love the feeling. Boom, 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 boom. That's what it's about.
Did you have the conversation? Did it reach a place of where someone actually has looked back on your past efforts and made a comment about how it was a context that they believed, but you were moving in a different way with it?
Yes, I've had people actually debate with me and say, no, I think you meant it like this, which is kind of cool, or they liked this lyric and thought this was corny, and that's okay. I love open discussion, man. You're never going to grow if you don't.
Do you find yourself engaging a lot with people online on your direct networks? I don't mean like you're out and you're jumping into different and alternative conversations. I mean like within your own world, are you having is there debates over the content and the direction that you're going that you're engaged in with people who are following your stuff, fans?
Uh, well, yeah, of course, but it's been really good in a really positive way. They're just like, we can feel it. We can feel your energy. And it's like awesome. I'm just very at peace, man. And
When
I'm not just saying it. It's just awesome to create and feel this inspiration all the time.
I'm really happy for you. I was about to, no, I was about to jump into another question. I'm just listening to you right now, man. Like that, like good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's well, I didn't do it, so I can't say you're welcome. I bet, but you're welcome. Like I've done nothing.
Even on the track I did recently that was on the Coda compilation, it's called Home. Even when I wrote I came up with the bass line driving my whip, and all of a sudden I'm like, so I make a voice note, called up, uh, the Diva, one of my favorite plugins, and wrote the chords and can't wait to find our way back home. No more twisted fantasy. Lockdown. You are right where you belong. When the lockdown is over, no other place that I'd rather be. The dance floor. Boom. Done.
Let me get a little bit typical with you.
Okay.
Where are you at right now with music? What is your vibe?
Okay, so two brains. Electronic music, raw, chunky, stripped with a hypnotic element, with an undeniable top line melody and a wittiness in its arrangement that creates energy without sounding like 100 other thousand songs on Beatport. To just really like, this is me. You play it or you don't. It's all good either way, but this is truly a piece of me. And then, making sure that the drums have like a hypnotic element, the way they swing. I keep talking about swing and I will always talk about it. Making the snare late, making that open hat swing in that little pocket of space. I can't help it. I'm so obsessed with rap music again that it's trickling into what I make. Even like the track with Doc Brown that you like. Submission is more, techno-y, but uh, the other track, pushing
It
me.
reminds me of old like classic subliminal stuff is what it reminds me like with today's production value and sound design, but
Yeah,
the idea of the song brought me back to those hypnotic loops from Subliminal, the
that
Choo
means
Choo
a lot to
Romero.
me. That means a
Cool,
lot to
dude.
me. That
Yeah,
means a
no,
lot to me.
listen, it's dynamite. Y'all, if you're in from by description, what would be new modern tech house after 2019 modern, definitely whatever's now internet stream vibe now, then definitely check out the new Doc Brown and Flipside submission.
I
It's sick.
really, I really appreciate it. And when I saw some of the people who downloaded it, because I checked the promo feedback just to see, like, honestly, Shiba-san, Capriati, um, Joyce Nunez, like people I really respect that I buy their music, seeing them actually take the time. Roger Sanchez, not just downloaded, actually saying, wow, I like Submission, or pushing me is unique because I wanted to give it a weird melody, I really love Robert Hood, Floor Plan, his daughter. I love that Detroit aesthetic. So I try to incorporate it, but also Italo disco. For a long time, I was like, oh, hold back on that. But it's like, this might sound funny, but my parents, I'm a first generation Italo Calabrese, and I want that to show in my music. I am proud, sono fiero di essere italiano, and I want to start showing that, not like coming from like a Gino perspective, because for me, I don't really care about freestyle after it got destroyed, with all due respect to Little Susie. For me, the early like freestyle, like I'm talking, freestyle freaks, and would do the, like the real shit, breakdancing shit. That meant the world to me. And my early years, it formed my brain. Listening to those beats, like early Todd Terry, early Louis Vega is freestyle. And people don't even know that. They don't realize that all those classic Gino tracks are made by Todd Terry. You just got to look in the credits. So like that was my early years, like Silent Morning. All those kinds of tracks were like the roots that allowed the giardino to grow. You know what I mean? Like the garden to grow. So I'm a child of all those worlds, and where I'm at, I'm all about showing that all, man.
Let me flip back into something real quick
Sure.
because you said something and it makes me want to ask you, what is the difference between rap and hip hop?
Okay, so for me, hip hop is, I'll just use groups to explain it. Gangstar, Jurassic 5, The Roots, Tribe Called Quest, Bahamadia, Fugees, rap music, Master P, Drake, although he's more pop R&B, so he's in a world of his own. Um, I would Jay-Z, even though he can make hip hop, it's a little bit more commercial. And the difference between a rapper and an MC, DJ Premier said it best. A rapper can do the flows and the lyrics perfect, but an MC can freestyle, do it all on the spot, and like keep it super raw and super underground. For me, hip hop has to reflect graffiti writing, breakdancing, rhyme reciting, and DJing. Rap music is more like, I would say it's like EDM versus, you know what I mean? Like business techno. Like it's the more mainstream interpretation and offshoot of it. Whereas hip hop is like the equivalent of like saying Detroit techno, the real shit. It's different.
What is business techno?
Well, I mean, I said it to make you laugh, but it's kind of like, the,
I'm here. I love to hear your opinions, bro. Genuinely, you know that
oh man,
I'm not here just.
some people might get mad though.
Listen, you know what? There's I'm not quite sure where you're at or what you've seen and not seen, but I'll recite it here because some people have seen it, but some haven't. I have demonic on utility room, and we're together. I've had two episodes, but in the second episode we had some debate, and it's not heated. I was on one side and he's on the other, and I guess the debate kind of concluded and the show kept going, and neither of us really agreed with each other. And I'm sure if you were to go and ask right now to Demonic, he'd probably be in a place be like, yeah, I still stand where I stand. And if
Okay.
you were to ask me, I'm still on my hill too. And and we can do that. I'm not quite sure where the conversation got started to a place of where like we can't do that. Like it's okay to like so long. You know what? Like so long as you're not being an asshole,
Totally.
right? And you're not trying to hurt somebody or hurt their feelings, it's okay to look at something and be objective instead of saying
Okay.
I
So
don't
I'll,
I don't like that. You could just say that's not for me,
okay,
and that's
well,
okay that that's not for me. So I'm not saying that obviously. I'm just talking out loud because I don't. If someone's gonna go and get in a heat on something that they've heard or they've said, I mean, for a second, you got to step back and be objective and just, are we all supposed to agree with each other? I mean, this would be an interesting planet if we did. I don't know what would happen if we
it
all just
it
looked at each
wouldn't it
other.
wouldn't be healthy. It wouldn't be healthy, and I agree with you. We shouldn't. And to get back to why, how you went and explain that, business techno for me is basically, and before COVID hit, you saw this new emerging style of techno without naming labels because that's just low vibration. Um, that is very predictable. Basically, you can hear the same sample pack, you can hear the same kick drum, the way it's EQ'd, except not done as well as the main labels that started it, that are at the forefront. And to me, business techno, I've also called it, uh, and I'm going to be blunt here, alt right techno, like no soul, really. I'm, I'm going to just say it, super Caucasian, like, like no swag, no swing, no rhythm, no nothing. It's like really bad, man. It's just gung, gung, gung. It's like, oh man. It's okay. Like, for example, when you've made pounding tracks that you send me, you have rhythms with like your snares, and like you'll add little percussive elements, so it creates a texture. I'm talking about where it's literally like they just open up their DAW, kick, clap, peck, 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 like a woodpecker, just literally just so stiff on to the grid. That to me is business techno with like predictability, and I'm just not feeling it, man.
Does the demand for it ever get under your skin?
The truth, uh, maybe 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, yeah, maybe even three, but not with where I've evolved as a human being in the past couple of years. Now I don't care. Like, you want to listen to it, go right ahead, man. It's, to me, I'm gonna turn up Robert Hood and a person like Kink over that, because I'm sorry, it's better. Carl Craig is better. You know what I mean? Like, the beats that you send me are better because you're not following the predictable. That you've never been like that though. I mean, I've heard you play like out of nowhere, like a track where I run to the booth and it's like a Marco Carolla record, and you're very unpredictable like that, and I've heard you play super soulful shit. Because people like you also represent, you bring that metal element too, but I like that about you because you like rock and roll. So why wouldn't you bring that there? You're being true to yourself the way I bring hip hop to my shit. So of course I love that about you because it's so you, and you do it from your heart. So to answer your question, business techno to me is like Hunter was talking about it on Facebook, and did it. He said it perfectly. I'd have to read it, but it's basically like they know there's a formula there. It's popular. Kids really like it, and basically they're just trying to mimic these amazing artists that created this booming festival sound, just doing it cheaper. And that always happens. Look at when you've had some of your biggest electro records and people started ripping off your arrangements. They did it with George and I with the pitch down vocal. Come on, man. You can't be like that. But it's not our job to get angry and police it and govern it. It's like, okay, we have to protect the culture, but at the same time, the the cream always rises to the top, man.
Is imitation a great form of flattery?
If the person gets inspired and does something off the hook that's evolves into something else and spins the wheel their own way, then yeah. But if it's just, hello, I'm phoning it home, no way. That's whack, in my opinion. You got to push yourself, man. We're only here for X amount of time. The soul lives forever, in my opinion. But like in human years, I mean, you hit 90, that's a blessing, man. 85 to 100, woo, that's top of the top. But like, you got a window of time, like the Salida track and the legendary Danny T. Be yourself. You got to, man.
Do you find that this conversation of art versus commerce, has this been uh, a major point throughout your career where you've had to have this discussion with yourself?
100%. 100%. From uh, when I dealt with Tommy Boy and when I've dealt with Tool Room, when I've dealt with EMI. Some people don't know that in 2012, EMI wanted to give me the second largest record deal in Canadian history after Joel, okay, after Mouse. They basically heard I created 10 unreleased records that are still not out to this day. Worked my ass off with A Division and Joe DeSimone, and we came up with all these incredible tracks. One of them was Good Night Out, which Ghetto Blaster ended up remixing that Chucky hammered. But basically, one of the demos was also Feel So Good with Joey Suki. But I did a bunch of new music, and they were like, "We want to sign you." So they offered me a 3 album deal for 5 years, each album with an increase in pay, with a decent advance for each one for a Canadian label. Like they had a tour plan, they had merch plans, and once they said that they want final say on my lyrics, the brain just shut off. No, 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 no. You can, like James Bradshaw, who I respect, he wrote a lot of the big hits of Love Inc. If he wanted to co-write a song or two, I can swallow my pride and do that. But to have final say on what I spit, that ain't gonna happen, man. No way. So I said no.
What was it about the compromise that had you come to a standstill in the agreement?
I'm willing to work with people. You know that because we've done projects all the time and we never have disagreements. Um, but
Well,
to
no, just
have
because I it's what you said. I trust you. I trust you enough that I leave you to do your own thing. Rarely have I come, and if I ever have an edit conversation with you, it's typically not about the content.
no, of course not. You know,
Right.
you might say I kind of want more of this vibe. Focus on that. That's it, and you let me go.
Yeah.
Um, Listen, I'm very honored and grateful that Virgin Canada believed in me. That is a blessing.
Right.
And but to they were saying they wanted, they were like, I'm just going to be honest because I want people to know this. They were like, okay, you're attractive, that's opinion, but they were like, so we can market you, we don't have to hide you. I mean, what is this kind of language? It's to what it does to the self-esteem. It's not, but this is the music industry and people need to know this. There's they talk about this shit when they're thinking bigger picture, especially a major. Are you marketable? They're like, you're another 10 pounds, perfect. We get you a trainer, you're good. And it's like, wow, you talk to me like and women get it 10,000 times worse. Imagine. And it's good to see them striking back. This is their time and they deserve it because they've been getting abused by society for centuries, eons. So the pendulum is swinging, man. So my point is, it made me feel like a piece of shit. And then when they were like, oh, maybe try doing stuff like LMFAO. With all due respect to them, that's Barry Gordy's son. Full respect. They have they had a platinum record. Total respect. But that's not me, man. This is the guy that built something with Freaky Flow, built something with Paranoid Jack, built something with George, built something with you, built something on my own, radio shows, labels, PBR from nothing to selling almost 200,000 copies. I'm not trying to be an asshole, but like, what the fuck you gonna teach me, man? You know what I mean? Like, to try to control me, no, that's not cool. Like, you can work with me and you can say, okay, we helped you with these 2 tracks, so 33% of the publishing goes to us. I can live with that. But to say we have final say, that's not gonna fly with me.
Did you have that as your reply, or was it
I mean,
was it more
I
was it
was
more
more
streamlined
I was
more
polite.
streamlined into something more corporate? That
I,
was,
well, I was polite. I said,
of
I
course.
feel like I remember some of the language.
Do you
Well,
do
my
you
man.
do you feel like you weren't polite right now? Is that why, or
Well, now
is
I
it
because now I was being like speaking from the heart, so I was kind of like not sugarcoating it.
so Nat? This is I guess what I trying to get to before. When I think about all these conversations that I've been having with everybody, some people make music, some people are just DJs, some people are promoters. But when it comes to music, it seems like everyone is firing heart first. Because I'm not in the other ends of media, I can't speak about it. It's clearly going the answer is going to be yes. But what is it about music? What is it? As you know, we were wearing concert T-shirts because we wanted people to know who we were.
Mm-hmm.
Is this what music is? Is this who we are?
It's such a layered question, but there are people that don't care for music. Let's be honest. So I'm going to answer this from my perspective as someone that resonates with it. I think of the chakras. All your chakras, from the root to up here, and music can create waves of energy when you're that type of person, almost like like a sermon. If you've ever been to church, or like when there's a really good rabbi at a synagogue, because I've actually been to synagogues, I've been to mosques, because I believe in having an open mind when it comes to spirituality. I've been to even the United Church, Anglican, and even my atheist friends that are more about quantum physics, and they don't believe in spiritual entities or whatever. For me, music, for people, that's their religion. And through sadness, through happiness, through anger, they can resonate and connect with music in a way that it can help them feel like they know who they are. You know what I mean? They know who they are through songs, and they feel a sense of belonging in society, uh, to themselves, being true to themselves. And this is what I embody, and I resonate with this. And I can show you a little bit of who I am through my embodiment of how I spit, for me, how I rhyme, how I sing, how I DJ. Maybe you didn't like this set more than this one, but maybe you didn't know I was feeling super anxious that night, so I gave it extra harder. There's so many layers to it, and I think music for some people, it's like an extension of the air that they breathe. You need air to live. You can survive without music, but for people that are wired like us, that circuitry, we just fire off on a higher level through music. And let's say the single mom who has 3 children, she's been worked to the bone. An ex pissed her off. Maybe she had a relationship that spiritually didn't fulfill her and she has to cut it off. Maybe she puts on, Jill Scott. You're getting in the way of how I'm feeling. Or like, you just don't know, how I can't really answer that fully because there's so many variables involved. Um, but for me, I think any musical person can relate to that answer. It can tap into how you feel. You mentioned the band shirt. It's like showing, yeah, I rock a Wu-Tang shirt. I have a shirt that says Enter the 36 Chambers. And it's to show people, yeah, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. That's who I am.
Because this is part of the broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
This is part of the personal broadcast.
Yes.
It's the billboard. It's your personal billboard taken from because you knew what that is, and that seemingly is a part of you.
Yes.
Does this message have the same universal output? We'll never know. Someone might be looking at Wu Tang and have a form of disdain towards them and be like, and then and
Totally.
then and then that's who you are too.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Right.
look at what I said about business techno. There might be some people thinking, whatever, smart ass. But the thing is, I have a testadura, which means in Italian, I'm stubborn. So I'm not changing my opinion because for me, I'll put on Jeff Mills live at the Liquid Room, and it'll just clip all that shit away. Or Frankie Bones, one of my favorite sets of his. And I implore everyone watching this, go into YouTube. I did this to Carlo Leo, and he texts me. I just can't show you because like the phone, I'm using the phone right now. He's like, "Wow, I was playing in Chicago for Radic from Dust Tracks for a Vibonauts party in 2001, and he told me to like listen to this set called Energy Force. It's on YouTube. It is. I'm getting goosebumps. Look at that. It is one of the fucking most epic techno sets I have ever heard from Frankie Bones. It is like class is in session. Get your notebook and take notes, son, because like you are gonna learn. Like it is that good. So when I hear sets like that, where the music, like he's playing Surgeon records on there, early drum code on there, and it's the way he's mixing. Because like when Frankie wants to bring the heat, he can bring the heat. Like he's one of those DJs. He's moody. It depends where he's at. But like when he wants to bring in like the heat, like computer controlled, woo! It's like it's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. You know what I mean? Like it's raw. It's meant to be savage. You could hear Brooklyn when you listen to it. You could picture Rockaway driving, to Sonic Groove. You can totally feel New York and his beats, man.
I want to fucking listen to this set right now. Jesus Christ.
No, dude, Energy Force is fucking incredible, bro. You're gonna text
Oh,
me and be
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. You'll
"Wow,
probably. It's tomorrow
yeah,
morning at the gym, is what it is.
yeah,
I'm, I'm really thankful, that we were able to do this,
totally."
together tonight. I wanted to have you on the show for so long,
You
for
have.
so long.
You've asked me a couple times.
Is it hard to get up on camera like this?
Um, it it used to be, but doing streams and one of the gifts that came to me from the universe is I've been working with DJ Sneak a lot, and I've gotten to know him on a very deep level. And he's actually a really nice guy. Sometimes people think and I've said this to his face. Sometimes you can come across as an asshole on social media, and he's like, "Oh, I know, but I'm trying to protect the culture and like holding people accountable." And I respect that, man. The only thing I told him is sometimes just ease up on the gas pedal a little. Like the way you mentioned the story where I'm like freestyling the guy in the car. Like, of course, I still want to rhyme all the time. And I left you a voice note today freestyling. I'm just not going to like obliterate a guy in an Uber. Like, because
I
now
mean,
it's
you weren't mean. You weren't mean to the. I don't know if you don't remember. You weren't mean at all. You were
no,
just
of course,
you were
I'm not
being
a
you were
mean.
being clever. Like it was about us being in his cab and that he was
Yeah.
driving us, and that
Well, I
like
also know that
I
he
can't
didn't.
remember. I still can't remember where we were going. Somewhere. I don't know where the. I don't know where. I don't know where we were going. We were going somewhere. Somewhere.
I'm also like a bit of a shit disturber. When I see someone's a bit uneasy, I'm not going to front. And it's something I've worked on. I do like to twist the knife a little and get under their skin. It's the Italian in me. I like when I played soccer, I used to get a lot of yellow cards, pinching, elbowing. I was a very physical player, you know, especially when I was playing up at the soccer center in Woodbridge with all my WAP friends. Man, they take that shit serious. And so, you learn to be a little bit of it's all in jest, like Bill Burr, like that type of sarcastic comedy, busting the chops, you know what I mean?
Is it what is it right now that has everybody so concerned, and what is it that about the sensitivities of people, when is something comedic and when is something serious,
Man,
and
these are questions that like I can give you my perspective, but my answers aren't like the be all and end all. It's complicated.
it's what I was saying before, man. Like,
Yeah,
I obviously
that's
I want to hear
psychology.
it. Of course it is.
So
Listen,
from
I
my
I mean,
perspective,
yeah, of course your
okay,
perspective, brother. What else do I want?
well, for me, I think for the longest time, the disrespect shown towards the African American community, the gay community, the trans community. Look, you and I, it doesn't matter because I remember going to WMC in 1998 with Soul Grabber, uh, you know, openly gay, one of the best Canadian producers of all time, Happy Days, PJ, you know what I mean? And he's like, hey, I want to go to Miami. Let's share a room, but I know, like, I hope you're not weirded out because I'm gay. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I was offended, but then he's like, no, dude, a lot of people got weird when I came out. So to answer your question, this backlash, this fight back of inclusivity is long overdue, because for a long time the catcalling towards women, the I see it when I'm walking down the street with Megan, because she's, a vixen and she's curvaceous. That's I like the hourglass. That's my I like women that, that are shaped. I just love that. I respect it, and I think all women are beautiful. It doesn't matter. But my point is, I I see the way they speak, and my beautiful female friends. When I went to Cabana with my younger sister, you know, 29 years old, and they're speaking disrespectfully. I mean, I used to, when she was a little kid, bring her to school, and I remember going to Promenade Mall in Thornhill when she was like 13 years old, going through puberty, and these guys trying to talk to her. It was disgusting, and I was like, wow, I have to be more mindful of these of these things. And to tie it all in, for a long time, there's been all these people that have been disrespected for so long, with opportunities at work, with opportunities in society. It's none of your business who they are and if what they resonate with, and they have every right to go where you want to go, to get the same jobs as you. But there's people out there that are complaining about this, and it's like, you don't understand because you're not in their shoes. So you have to have empathy. So the reason why there's a sensitive nature right now, I feel, is because we're going through growing pains. And those of us like us that have always had that ability, through Don Burns, through the Romels, that were our friends and our family on the dance floor, we operate from love, right? And these people that are closed minded, they don't, and that's where the division comes from. And they we these people, like, that are coming from that perspective that you say, that are sensitive about it, they're wrong. you know it's about time that the playing field is leveled. It's a complex answer, but I think that's where it comes from. They're scared because they can see society is evolving, and they don't know how to deal with it.
Do you think maybe, again, and how I'm going to bring it in, and why we went there? Do you think that because music is the heart first, and that these conversations are obviously leading heart first, with good
Yes.
reason, with good
Yes.
reason?
Yes.
Is this why the relationship between these causes and music are so closely, they're powerful together? Is this where this unification comes from? Because, and I'm also thinking, before the answer, sorry, I'm also thinking, like, in music, how much, for myself, I can speak. I don't know, how much I've learned about other cultures of
Mm-hmm.
life
Mm-hmm.
just from music.
Mm-hmm.
And then when touring happened,
Mm-hmm.
the exposure of, I mean, being somewhere where nobody speaks English,
Mm-hmm.
and everything, all communication is through gesticulation. Uh, pe- People are people. Yeah, they're for me. And then we talked about the good music and bad music.
Oh,
For
sorry.
for
Sorry.
That's all right. No,
Swiffer just knocked over the phone.
I
Sorry.
think this is the same with people. There's there's
My
there's
cat's
there's
here. I
there's good people and
apologize.
bad people. That's okay.
Sorry
That's
about
okay.
that. Swiffer, come on.
You know
Okay, I'm
what?
back.
I'm gonna change the vibe real quick here, and go into it. I became a cat person.
Awesome.
Did you know that?
No,
I
but that's
became
good to hear.
I became a cat person. It's happened.
He's sitting on my lap right now. He's the great one of the greatest things that ever happened to me, and he's purring, by the way.
But but
So
but
that's
absolutely disliked me when I came to visit you at your house. Disliked me.
Oh, you know what it is? Because, like me, you have the firepower. You're full of the joie de vivre. So he
Yeah.
just had. But I'm sure if you came back again, he's always a bit. He's like me. He's stubborn at first, but he's all love. He's all love.
Are you visiting with friends right now? How are you locking down? What's your vibe?
Okay, so before I answer that, I want to let you know I only have like a couple minutes because he's diabetic, so I do have to give him his shot. It's imperative to keep him on his schedule.
Listen, I want to do this again. We didn't talk record label. We kind of touched touring, but we didn't go into it. I loved having you, and I'd love to have you again if you'll have me.
Of course, I would love to do it, but I think tonight we touched upon some amazing things. And to answer your question, through dance music, remember, it was house music was invented by gay African American men and women, and just the gay communities that they've taught me so much. I remember like when I first started coming out to MC parties, and you remember I used to wear a lot of like ruffled shirts, a lot of pink, purples, really skin tight bell bottoms, high heels, all of that. I mean, at Burning Man, you remember I was wearing dresses and wore parasols. I I remember people like talking so much shit about me to Don Burns, which was the worst thing you could do. And then because he had my back, and I noticed the fear and insecurity of people when they don't understand something. So this ties back to what you asked before. You have to have empathy to understand. And I think where the friction comes from is lack of understanding. This is why people are uncomfortable, because they're like, oh, why do they keep talking about uh, transgenders have been around since the Egyptian Empire. Just do your research. You have just suppressed it because you don't understand, so you want to disrespect these people. It has nothing to do with their education, their resume. It's ridiculous low vibration thinking. It actually infuriates me when people get angry about that. And I've literally called people out and be like, what does it matter to you? And that's what you have to think about. How does it affect you? And you need to ask yourself, am I maybe being ignorant right now? You know, that's the type of person I am. I can't speak for other people, but I try to learn from my mistakes.
It's a obviously amazing insight to have. We all want to learn
That's
from our
really my
mistakes. Yeah.
opinion. That's
No,
honestly how
I
I
feel
feel.
you. I mean, like I think about it all the time. I've lost track of how many times I fucked up personally. So
Yeah, well, we're human.
yeah, we are. Much love to
Yeah.
you. Much love to you, trying to support what's in your hands that's not human, and and thank you.
Can I mention something? So
I
obviously my
want it
track.
all. I want it all. I was going to ask you. Do you want to tell everybody where we can hear you, where we can find you? People probably want to hear
Okay,
the
absolutely.
flip
So
side.
I've got my website www.iamflipside.com. I'm going to be on Twitch again this Wednesday. I'm doing a special DJ set from P6 Studios, TorontoJungle.com for Doc Brown in Miami. So that'll be on this Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then I'm doing a stream with DJ Sneak, Ms. Megs, Loopity Goofs, and Jason Hodges on uh, April 10th. And also, my music is constantly uploaded to Beatport and Spotify. So I'm, on my socials, YouTube, and I can't wait to share some of the new hip hop I'm working on, man. Man, oh man, my track "Salute," I sent it to you. Woo! It's a
Stoked to hear it.
flamethrower, man. It's like I closed my eyes and I tried to honor the Beastie Boys and Tribe, man.
Stoked. What were you about to say? Were you about to ask me something?
Oh no, I was just gonna mention that I wanted to mention like where people can check out what I'm up to.
Oh shit! No, I would have never closed the show without it. Yes, it's kind of important. You happen to do some music, and we
Totally.
happen to like it, so we want to know where it's at. Hey, this is Utility Room. That is Flipside, who we are all super stoked to have with us tonight. And you are absolutely awesome. Thanks very much for tuning in to the show. Nat, don't touch that dial. We're going to say goodbye real quick. After we stop the show, we're going to see you next Thursday night.